Hey guys, welcome back to Invest. Today, I just want to go over some news. Talk about the stock market for the past week, and there are, other stuff pertaining to, I guess, us. So, I already made one video earlier today talking about AI. If you want to go check that out, that'd be awesome. If not, it's cool. It's mostly kind of me not really taking a hardline stance on any way, one way or the other. So, it is what it is. Let's see. So today, I just kind of want to talk about what we see in the stock market. Obviously, the stock market dropped like 2% today. The S&P 500 dropped like 1.97%. So basically 2%. I really don't know what else to say. I guess what I talked about previously is that I don't think this is the start of the recession. And I don't think this 2% drop really changes that. We had a little bit of a relief recovery. This doesn't bring us back down to where we were. It's definitely not a sign of strength, but I also still don't think this changes the near-term outlook of this not being the big one. The reason I say that is because, like I said previously, typically the markers that we look for in a recession is hiring falling, jobless claims going up, and consumer spending going down. And really what we're saying is that consumer spending is not going down. The job market still hasn't gone down much, like you would expect to see in a recession. The consumer spending is still up. So, it's really I think in the near term, we'll probably see more of a recovery. I don't think this 2% drop is really gonna kill us at all. But that being said, things aren't great. We've got a trade war going on with Canada, Mexico, China, whoever else is the flavor of the month. It's not looking great. The trade war itself, I don't want to be all political. I think the way that it's been handled so far has been really, really fucking stupid. But that doesn't mean that it won't work in the long run. And I think people kind of get wrapped up in this whole, oh, this is really stupid, you need to be more specific and picky and stuff like that. But, at the same time, is it going to bring jobs back to America if they keep it up long enough? Probably some. Maybe not enough to really justify the damage it is doing in the near term, but that remains to be seen. I think one of the things I've talked about a lot is that, factories take a long time to rebuild. You can't just flip a switch, say, hey, next month we're going up to 25% tariffs on everything coming into the country. So if you cross the border multiple times, you're getting taxed multiple times. That puts a big problem in there, especially when the factories aren't necessarily in the United States. And, if they're crossing the borders multiple times, well, suddenly you're seeing inflation because of the increased costs of doing that business, transporting all these goods. In some cases, there are some factories in America, and maybe you can fit some of those factories to do some of the tasks and maybe not cross the border as many times, but you still have a time delay before that actually takes effect. So in the near term, I want to be careful if I say this, because I said in the near term, I'm looking somewhat bullish. But in the, mid-term, it kind of, you expect to see more of a flattening out. Another thing is that they're really going hard on trying to deport as many people as possible. And I think one of the big problems with that you're running into is that, some places are going to have issues keeping up with labor. You saw this in England back when they did Brexit and they tried to kick out all these foreign migrants. And the problem was the migrants were doing a lot of household stuff, they were doing a lot of farm stuff, and suddenly farmers were just letting crops rot because they didn't have people to go out into the fields and pick them. And grocery prices were going up, but they just didn't have the labor to pick the stuff to keep the prices low. And what they ended up doing was carving out a spot for those migrants to, come back in. And I think it's kind of telling that the people that Donald Trump and Elon Musk and that whole regime. Don't want to say regime. That makes it sound bad, but not the administration. There we go. They are really targeting lower class people. Now they have gone in and done some stuff with kicking out college students, and there was one of the doctors that we had recently come up in the news. But at the end of the day, you're still like targeting these laborers that are doing these, kind of low-level jobs. And I don't necessarily think that's a good way to go if you're trying to, do stuff that's more profitable. If you're trying to not worry so much about profits and making your supply chains more resilient, that might be a way to go. But the problem is, you gotta make those wages competitive enough for American workers to want to go back to them. Because right now, what you're running into is that American citizens make enough money at their normal jobs that they don't want to take up these low-level jobs. And the only way you're going to get them to go back there is to either make their lives so absolutely horrible that they have to take it as a last resort, or you have to make those jobs pay competitive enough salary, which is also going to increase inflation. So either way, inflation is going to keep going up. Now, that makes me believe more that we might hit like a stagflation type of scenario as opposed to a full-on market crash. But I think we will have a market crash before we get to that point, just because, let's be realistic, they're not going to increase the payroll for farms. They're going to wait for people to be hurting so bad that they have to go get to those jobs. The only other way that they can really fill those roles is with robotics. But unfortunately, en robotics travaille bien soon for some of the soft fruits and the stuff that's typically handpicked. And that's not gonna happen at all for these farms. So they need bodies, and the only way they're gonna need those bodies is if the market crashes and people lose their jobs. The other problem, though, is that they aren't they're targeting these low-level immigrants, but they're not targeting the H-1B visas. And the problem that you run into with that is that now you're getting migrants taking these high-paying jobs and forcing your own people to go into low-level jobs because you've got these jobs open and you're trying to force them into these roles. You kind of run into some bad scenarios there. I mentioned it before, I'm a software engineer by trade. I feel like a lot of these H-1B visa people could probably be replaced by AI. And that's not necessarily to discredit them. There are some extremely skilled software engineers from other countries. I mean, one of the people I work with, he's from Eastern Europe, and he's absolutely phenomenal. Smart guy. But we also have an offshore team that we work with, and they're not the best. Let's just put it that way. People, I feel like if you're going to kick out as many immigrants as possible, you don't need to half-ass it. Just go full board. And I would say probably kicking them out of academia is the one place where you really shouldn't. And, the reason is, while they're in universities, they are contributing to research that benefit Americans. They're also not taking jobs because they're in academia. They might be taking a part-time job, but the number of students that are here is pretty negligible, and while they're still in university, you don't expect them to be taking super high-paying jobs. So I'm not on board with them kicking out students like this. Let's see, what else was I going to talk about? Oh yeah, they kicked out so many low-level people in Florida that now Florida is debating about filling some of these jobs with child labor because, yay, capitalism. Child labor laws are getting taken down just so they can fill positions. It's the most absurd thing I've ever fucking heard. Why is this even a thing? You're seeing this a lot in red states. It's so stupid. I'm sorry, but I know some people really want kids to get a part-time job when they're in their teens. I had a part-time job when I was in my teens. But there was also child labor laws there to make sure I didn't do something fucking stupid because I was a fucking child. Like, it's insane. The other piece of news that I saw that kind of caught my eye, GameStop, at this point they're a meme stock. One of the things that, they really try to do is when they got that big bump from the meme stock craze, they went out and bought a whole bunch of fucking like Funko dolls, the Funko Pop figures or whatever, these vinyl figures. They were trying to sell those. I don't necessarily think that's a bad idea as long as you're doing it alongside primarily games and more game stuff. But they went so balls to the wall that I went inside some GameStop stores and it was almost nothing but Funko Pops and a couple of like Minecraft toys. That's it. It's like you're so far away from what your base was. I would have even preferred it if they were like got it to like Pokemon cards and tabletop games as opposed to fucking Funko Pops. Because at least that's somewhat game relevant. Like, I know they do make Funko Pops for games, but a lot of them are like movie characters and TV characters. Well, now their latest thing to try and capitalize on everything is to buy a fuck ton of Bitcoin. According to the article that I read, they are borrowing $1.3 billion just to buy Bitcoin, and they're shutting down more locations. So I functionally don't see why you would buy GameStop stock over like MicroStrategy at this point. Anything that GameStop could do with the Bitcoin is going to be done better by MicroStrategy or a Bitcoin ETF. I really don't understand what they're trying to do because they're not going to revive their business that way. You don't revive your business by closing stores and buying Bitcoin. You revive your business by doubling down on what people know you for and trying to bring people back to the stores. Now, I understand physical games are not really in fashion anymore. Retro games are not going to have a big enough target audience to really bring you back. At that point, though, I really think the only thing you can do is maybe just close down the business, call it a day. Like, I know they're fighting for their life there, but if you're going to be firing people and just buying Bitcoin, what's the point of even running GameStop anymore? Maybe sell it to someone else that has some ideas. It doesn't make any sense to me. Or, if they wanted to, they could even like make mobile games. Like, I remember when one of the first really big mobile games was like Indie Game Dev Studio or something like that. It was a fun little game, and they could develop something like that if they wanted to. I mean, it's not particularly difficult, but I don't know. It's all dumb. It's all so much stupid shit. And another thing, Tesla protests are really hurting Tesla. I was never a big fan of Tesla stock to begin with. One of the reasons for that is I don't think the growth is really that good. Like, globally, their sales is roughly on par with Ford, and Ford is a fraction of the price. So why would I want to invest in Tesla when I don't think the growth prospects are that good, especially when you're considering global sales when Chinese car companies are just whooping their ass in just about every thing. Like, I've got a house in Thailand. Every time I go there, I see all sorts of Chinese EVs. I see XPeng, I see Changan, I see BYDs all over the place. Fucking so many BYDs. Yeah, I've seen a couple of Teslas. Like, outside of America, people are buying Teslas, and the only reason Tesla's getting sales in America is because there's not that much EV competition in America because America blocked out China. And for what it's worth, that might be a good sign for some of these tariffs because it worked for Tesla. We blocked China, blocked their competition, and Elon Musk is the richest person in the world based on his business. But that's not really sustainable where the rest of the world isn't buying your shit, and all you got is the domestic market. So, bam. What else? There was another thing I wanted to talk about. Now I am forgetting. Oh yeah. How about that whole scandal with classified documents? Almost like this is a recurring theme for Donald Trump. Luckily it wasn't Donald Trump doing it this time, but it doesn't help that it's his administration dropping the ball on this. And let's see, first it was the Signal chat when they're talking about bombing Yemen and accidentally adding a reporter, which I don't know how nobody noticed that. Like, at some point you would think the director of national intelligence should have, checked up the participants in the chat and been like, hey, why is this person who's not authorized to be here in here? And then there was the whole, they found passwords for a lot of these people that were in that chat. Pete Hegseth apparently has a Russian email address. So you're running into some hard shit. And I just want to be perfectly honest. I don't know why anybody would get benefit from being on any of these classified documents at all. Because, if Russia got in there, Trump's such a fucking wild card. I don't know if it would actually help them predict what he's going to do next anyway. Like, it might help them find some spies, but that's about it. Maybe that helps, but as if Donald Trump's going to trust the word of any of his spies anyway. He's just going to, fucking do whatever the fuck he wants to anyway. So, I mean, if it were like any other president, I would say, oh man, this is a huge fucking deal. But with Donald Trump, I don't even know if it matters. I mean, how long did he have those documents in his fucking toilet, in his bathroom at Mar-a-Lago before people were like, hey, you need to catch on to this? It's like years. So, America's in a bad place, and I don't think it's going to get any better. I think that the wealth inequality in America is really going to continue to get worse, and I don't know how... let's just put it this way. America has a long history of having not so bad wealth inequality, and it is steadily and worse ever since Franklin Delano Roosevelt was in office. It's still not as bad as some other countries, and I think that until it gets as bad as those other countries, Americans aren't going to fight for it. They've got their TVs, they're relatively cheap, they've got their phones, they've got their internet access, and as long as you keep the people fat and happy, they're not going to revolt. Now, that's all there is to it. You see the fever pitch because Donald Trump is Donald Trump and he's, very polarizing. But realistically, if you had somebody else in there, the problem would still just keep getting worse. And nobody's going to do anything about it. I hate to break it to you. Even if they tear down the whole government and try to drain the swamp or whatever, it's not going to fix systemic issues, because as soon as he's out of office, the next person in there is just going to go and set it back up. Then that's the way America works. Akahita ended on such a bleak note, but we're running into really dark territory, and it's not going to get any better. So if you want to benefit from the rising wealth inequality, what you need to do is put your money in the stock market, because when wealth inequality happens, the stocks go up. And when the stocks go up, if you're in the stock market, you win. So invest. And hey, would you know it? That's also the name of our website, i.nve.st, invest. And we do algorithmic trading, and we help you preserve your money. Even the stock market was down 2%, our stocks didn't do too bad. So, good looking up. All right, talk to you guys next week, probably. I don't think I'm going to upload another weekend video, but it was nice talking to you. Everyone.